The ACDP is concerned that funded posts will be reduced from 42,000 to 39,000 due to a reduction in funding. Now, we appreciate that there's an across-government fiscal consolidation with 605 million less to this department, but surely there must be some political accountability for this. This reduction, and across the board, 85 billion over 3 years, is as a result directly of corruption and state capture. And the ANC needs to accept responsibility for that. In addition, 50 billion revenue was collected less than was projected. Again, the ANC needs to accept accountability for this. This has also partially resulted in non-compliance with the Saldanha judgment relating to overcrowding in prisons. And whilst the Saldanha judgment relates to Pollsmoor, other inmates might bring similar court applications in other overcrowded centres. But Pollsmoor must be doing something correct, Chairperson, because last week, 4 robbers who recently stole a car from Cape Town managed to drive straight into Pollsmoor in an attempt to flee from the police. This is classic, as if Pollsmoor isn't already crowded enough. Now, the ACDP has long held the view that increased usage should be made of offender labour to deal with minor maintenance projects, and we thus welcome the Minister's commitment in this regard and commend the department on the productivity of its farms and factories that can result in self-sufficiency and generate revenue. We trust, however, as the ACDP recommended before, that the revenue obtained is channeled to the department and not to the national fiscus, as was the case. The department has also for several years not been able to meet its targets to create additional bed spaces. This has largely been due to delays in the completion of capital infrastructure projects, and regrettably, discussions between the Minister and the Minister of Public Works have borne little fruit. This must be resolved at a political level, as obviously the Department of Public Works is at fault in this regard. As other speakers have said, overcrowding remains a challenge, and we saw this firsthand when we conducted our oversight visits. Now, the ACDP has many years recommended the usage of Section 63A and Section 62F of the Criminal Procedure Act, as well as Section 49G of the Correctional Services Act, which will reduce the number of remand detainees. That is where we can reduce the numbers in our prisons, and we've got to apply these provisions and reduce the number of remand prisoners. We also support the increased usage of restorative justice programs, but are concerned that rehabilitation budgets are being underfunded, and this will obviously have a direct impact on integration of offenders in our prisons. We are concerned that JICS, although it is a dedicated sub-program with an increased budget, is still not independent. We believe it is not desirable for it to be dependent on the department for its funding. It must be independent to operate effectively.
May you please conclude?
Lastly, the ACDP wishes to thank all those dedicated officials and staff who work under very difficult and often dangerous conditions in our correctional facilities. We saw it at first hand when we visited the prisons in various areas, where we saw even women wardens having to be placed in the men's side to intervene, and that is unacceptable. So we trust that this will be addressed, but we are very grateful for that committed hard work, except for those that assisted convicts to escape. I thank you, Chairperson.